Today I'm going to make risotto Milanese with chicken. So what you need in order to whip this together is simply 500 grams of arborio rice, 250 grams of either Parmigiana or Grana Padano grated cheese, 250 grams of chicken. It can either be raw or it can be left over from a roast. Then we have 250 milliliters of chicken broth and also a nice large size glass of wine, large meaning from the pub, or to be a little more exact, 250 milliliters. Some lovely saffron, some preserved lemons. I happen to be using the lemons that I used to cook the chicken in. Some red pepper flakes, if you like, and my secret ingredient is a pinch of curry powder, Madras curry powder at the very end. So let's get started. First, what I like to do is take my saffron, and you need about a nice pinch to give it enough color. And I learned this trick from Dishoom. You take your saffron and you grind it in a little tiny macchina pesto till it becomes a nice powder. Then what's important is to fry your rice first. So you drizzle in some olive oil. I have to be using flavored olive oil because I just like the added kick that it gives the dish. Nice drizzle. Let it get a little hot. And then you add your rice. Because what we're going to be doing is browning the rice first to give it some crispiness. The rice is getting really nice, and you need to stir it around inside the hot olive oil. And you know when it's finished, when it actually changes color. It smells nice. Okay. The rice is really coming along beautifully. And you'll know that you're almost there when it gets quite white and just a little bit brown. We don't want to cook it too much because then it won't absorb the liquids that I'll be adding in just 2 seconds. Now I add my chicken broth. Some people have a technique where they add a little bit at a time. What I like to do is add all the broth in at one time, stir, reduce the temperature of your cooking. So I was cooking at a very high heat. Now I'm going to go, if high being 10 and low being 3, I'm going down to 3. And you get it bubbling like this. And when it's bubbling like this, then I add my saffron. So we have beautiful color as well as flavor. And then I just let it bubble away at a very, very modest point of bubbling. It's still quite ferocious at the moment. It will calm down very quickly. And then what I do is the liquid that I add a little bit so it doesn't get too pasty is the wine. So it's coming along so well, and that you can see that the rice has absorbed quite a bit of the chicken broth. And what I'd like to do now is add the wine, but I will add the wine gradually. Just so we give it a bit more space to float around in and then absorb. Now, what I like to do is to cover it. And I do not have a lid that's the right size for this frying pan, so I just use a dish. It's all, whatever you have, and it's all about being practical in the kitchen. Let's take a peek. Yes. More wine to the rice. Another drizzle. I have about 1/3 left in the glass. And now is the time I want to add the either preserved lemons or lemons left over from the roast. Give it a very gentle stir, not too much. And we put the lid back on and let it simmer away for another 5 to 7 minutes. 7 minutes later, yes, it's really nice. And we need to add more of the wine. Let's go. And if by chance you're finding that your risotto is a little too dry, it's no trouble to add more wine, right? If you'll notice, I did add a bit more wine to this creation, so it will look like this, and give it another 7 minutes covered, and then we'll add the rest of the bits. It's time to take another peek. Ooh, it smells. And you'll see that the rice is absorbing all of the liquid beautifully. Okay, let's add our chicken. Now, to be honest, I would always pre-cook the chicken because it just takes a lot of the guesswork out of how long you have to cook the rice and then when it's absorbing all the liquid. This way it's already done. So either I would steam it so it would be still very juicy if you're using raw chicken, or in this case I had to use the leftovers from last night's dinner. Give it a little stir, but not too much. So it's pretty much buried by the rice. Another 5 minutes, and then we'll add the Parmigiano or Grana Padano and a bit of the spices. Okay, 5 minutes later, another peek. Nice. You know, I'm going to add a little bit of water because if you see, it's a bit dry, and I happen to like my risotto a bit saucier. Okay, so. And a bit, I'm just saying, there's just a little bit of water. Pour it around. Now it's time to add the Parmigiano. Gently stir from the bottom to the top. Again, you're burying your cheese inside the risotto. Nice. It smells delicious, which is great. Okay, once it's all finely mixed together, then since we like curry in this house, adding just a pinch of curry powder, 2 pinches. And then when I serve it, I'm going to put the red pepper flakes on top with a little bit of more of the Parmigiano. Well, it smells like we're there, so let's just take yet another peek. Perfect. The Parmesan cheese has made it very creamy, and now it's bubbling away. Turn off the heat, and it's about time to serve. But I just want to mention, when you make risotto, please budget 1 hour from start to finish, because it's a type of meal that takes feel, and you have to practice, and it might be 5 minutes for browning your rice, and then the next time you make it, it's 6 minutes. And this is basically how all Italian food is. It takes feel, practice, and in the end, you simply adjust it to your own personal taste. Okay. Here you are, nice plates. And give it a last minute stir. This is also one of those meals, it's enough for the King's Army. So I will freeze it. I'll simply put it in Ziploc bags and make it nice and flat so it doesn't take up a lot of room in my freezer. And it'll be a wonderful lunch for another day. Time for lunch. Voila.